Well, to all of you that are watching this, welcome to this little time of sharing from Lyle. Lyle, thanks for joining me. I'm excited that I know you've said your story before, at least parts of it, but to be willing to just have a little bit of questions and your comments on your journey, I think will help a lot of us and help us understand maybe those that are listening to this that are walking some of that same journey or feel like they need to escape or get out of the place you were. Maybe this will help them. So, Lyle, tell us a little bit about yourself, the beginning of your journey, the lifestyle you were in. I'll let you start with that.
Okay. Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And I'd say I grew up in a Christian home and, grew up Amish and was taught right from wrong. Mm-hmm. And, not sure how I got there exactly, but.
What do you feel like, so, and I love that because I think probably a lot of people listening, especially in this community, have been born and raised in Christian homes, religious settings. So from that perspective, having that, I was going to say a safeguard. I don't know that the devil has a way of getting through those safeguards into kids' minds and to what they're thinking and doing. But in that setting, what do you feel like is the biggest thing that drove you to the place you were where you became dependent on drugs and that's what you were doing and that became your lifestyle? Like, what do you feel like drove you there?
I would say there was a lot of things that I was walking through at the time. I guess I started out by thinking drugs were cool. And then by the time that you realize that they're not cool, you're addicted. And I would say some of the pressures that I was walking through, it kept me sedated to kind of numb the pain, if you will. And
so on that note, do you feel like one thing you noted is, you thought it was maybe cool to first start in, which I think can be a big weakness, the attraction to kids. Mm-hmm. But the numbness or the sedation part of pain, would you feel like some of the things you experienced that created you that pain, the evil things that happened around you, not necessarily saying people were doing evil, but what the stuff you felt, the pressure, the stuff you walked through, do you feel like if you would have had a better way of having help during those times, it could have kept you from walking that journey a little bit more?
I think so, possibly. I don't like to say that people make you do certain things, but there's certain things in life that happen that have a direct impact on your next decision or your next move. For sure.
So in that. So let's just jump through that. When you were in the middle of, and I remember the interesting thing is, I think I remember some of this conversation and when you were trying to get out of that, and you and I spoke a little bit, and you had friends around you that reached out to me. What made you realize you need help? And I think this whole idea is a pursuit of sobriety. So whether it's drugs or alcohol or anything that I want to get out of this addiction that is influencing me, alcohol, drugs, any of that, at some point you have to make a decision like, I got to get out of this. What made you come to that decision, do you feel like?
I would say there's a couple factors. I hid it from everybody, and so I had to lie to some of my friends, and I was done lying. I was out of money. I had kind of exhausted every avenue that I had, and my conscience was really bothering me at the time. So I was kind of hit rock bottom for sure.
And I like how you said your conscience was bothering you. I think that can be a combination of the Holy Spirit speaking to you, and also the things you're taught as a note in the Christian home. So. Tell me a little bit about when you started breaking those chains, and I'll come back to this in a minute of what you would encourage people. But when you felt those chains break, tell us a little bit about that freedom. Like, what was the change of perspective that you had when mornings when you go to work, getting up mornings? I mean, like, what was your change of environment and perspective?
I was thankful. I was very grateful instead of angry. If you're
So being under influence, you were more in a state of anger most of the time.
Yes. Irritated very easily, and most mornings weren't good. You thought they were good, but they weren't. I'd say after being clean, I was thankful, and I could feel again. I could live. So.
I think that's the exciting thing about, living the life for Christ. And I hope a lot of people watching this understand that and have experienced that, of the freedom, and, the sky gets bluer, the grass gets greener. It's your life becomes worth living. So if you had, one or two things, if there's anyone watching this that is in the middle of that, and again, maybe it's not just drugs, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's something that they keep coming back to and can't really free out of that addiction. It makes them angry, or gives them gloomy mornings, or whatever that is, hangovers, whatever that is. What's the biggest statement of hope that you want to give them, of like, here's something you can find a way to step out of, or how you can?
I would say I had a couple of good friends around me that kept me accountable. So if accountability is a big thing. I would just say there's brighter days ahead, for sure. I think the devil tries to get us to feel that we're alone in this. I felt like I was maybe the only one in my situation, and that nobody's walked this exact journey, and isolated myself. So I would say accountability, and there's brighter days ahead.
I thought of something when you said that, and the sermon that I feel like God has led me to preach, it sort of comes into that, and that's, you said accountability, or people around you. Is it fair to say that when you're walking in the middle of that, you tend to run from people that actually care for you? Is that fair?
Yes.
So if someone is in the middle of that now, and they're listening to this, would it be fair to encourage them that stay around people that care for you, even though you feel like pushing them back and saying, get out of my life? How do you, or you would encourage them to stay around those people that care?
Yes, absolutely. Even if it seems that they might be a little bit harsh at times, sometimes it takes a little bit of tough love.
Well, Lyle, I know you've had an incredible journey, and I thank you for, a few answers, and just, I think the biggest thing, am I correct in saying that you're open to talk to about this to anybody?
Yes.
So I want everybody watching this, I want you to feel free to reach out to Lyle. When you're walking through that, as Lyle noted, you might feel alone. You're not. I want you to know, Lyle wants you to know, we want you to know you're not alone. And people around you that care, we want to walk this journey with you. So, Lyle, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.